Finally, the moment a couple of you have been waiting for.
It's all like bing bong, Jack.
Coming to you from an undisclosed location in Duval and St. Johns County. The show for Jag fans by Jag fans.
You can't have a newcomer come in and steal the show.
Here are your hosts, Franklin and Michael how you say it? DeZoba. Welcome to the Jaggernaut Podcast. All right, Jaggernaut Podcast once again. I think we took a little bit of a break. If you feel so inclined, you should probably subscribe or tell people to subscribe, because of the fact that we don't feel the need or desire to inundate your feed with content when we're really not in the mindset of doing content. We do content for content's sake, only when we feel like there's something that we need to talk about. So, Mike, how are you, sir?
Duval! I'm good.
You sounding good?
Fat,
sounding good?
Full. Yep, had a nice big fat steak for dinner.
I have yet to eat. I'm holding off food for
this podcast. Well, we thank you, Frank.
Sacrifices must be made. So tonight, wanted to focus in on Trevor, and one of the things that everybody has or seems to have a positive outlook about the prospects of the Jags. Not sure if the pundits have begun to put who they think will be in the Super Bowl, or I have seen some rankings. The Jags seem to be upper quarter, possibly top 5 to 7 team in the NFL. So people have a positive outlook about the Jaguars, and in order for that to be the case, in order for that to be true, most people must be thinking that Trevor is going to continue to improve, take that next step. Yes, he took a great step last year, comparison to his rookie season. So he's definitely going to have to take that next step if the Jags are going to become the team that people are thinking. So wanted to spend some time focused on just some statistical stuff, look at some numbers, see what the possibilities are for that. Before we jump into that, though, mini camp's underway, and
voluntary mini camp.
Voluntary mini camp is underway, and someone who hasn't volunteered to show up is Josh Allen. What does that worry you? What are your thoughts?
Yes and no. So he's under contract to play on his 5th year for $11 million. Here's my segue to you, sir. Is Josh Allen worth $11 million?
It's hard for me to say, man. I really, because we're talking in such numbers where I don't know the value comparatively. Like, I'd have to look at the contracts and see. So in other words, if you tell me right off $11 million a year, I have a hard time thinking he would be.
Okay, so that's all. So the man's going to get paid $11 million for this year. It's the last year on his rookie deal, and he's not coming to voluntary mini camps. Again, they're voluntary, but players often do this to show their disdain for not having a long-term contract. My thing is, has Josh Allen earned a long-term contract? Has he earned that big money? Because he came out last year, right? He said he wants to be the best in the NFL. Dude, right. He's lucky if he's 28 as far as defensive ends go.
Yeah.
So what do you want us to do? You're pissed off. You're not showing up, so you're pissed off. So you want us to hand you a 5-year deal that averages out to what? The 25th best defensive, end? Or will you be okay with that? Because I guarantee you won't.
Yeah.
So to me, this is a lose-lose. it doesn't bother me, but it's like, if you're going to do this, you better damn have a good case. And he does it. It's
Yeah,
like,
I
what
like
do you
Josh
want?
Allen. I like Josh Allen as a person. In interviews, he seems like a really decent character type guy. He's well rounded and he's a good player. He's a real good player. But yeah, he's not an upper tier player. He they signed his they gave him the 5th year option, which means the team is at least believing in him in that respect. So he's making the biggest amount of money, I think, that he would make in
Yes.
his rookie contract this year. Yeah, I don't see the point. I don't. It
And that's the thing. So now maybe he's off in Europe, you know, getting that last little vacation in. Maybe he feels he doesn't have to be there because.
that worries me
But
too, though.
yeah, I mean, but I don't know. Why would you do that? It makes no sense.
Yeah, it makes me think that maybe that's the reason he hasn't taken that next step. If that's his attitude, that because you got a lot of time off when you're a football player. I mean, let's face it, they have time off. If they want to go and get their vacation time in, and we all know that the odds are this is contract dispute type stuff where it's like, hey, I'm putting the team on notice. I want a contract. And I don't have a problem with putting the team on notice, but when you do it in a public way like this, you let everybody know I'm upset about my contract without telling people you're upset about your contract. I don't know. It's a little passive aggressive. I kind of get tired
I mean,
of it,
no,
honestly.
and I agree, but the problem is, what are you worth? I mean, if you're the 28th best defensive end in the National Football League, what are you worth? Four million a year?
I don't know. And that's the thing. It's like, I'd almost say, okay, when I see somebody holding out that tells me they want to be the next guy, which means I want to set the bar for and I hope to hell that's not the case, that he's thinking, whoever the last big time defensive end was, that he needs to exceed that contract. Because if he's thinking that, no, that's you're not worth that. You haven't shown that. You haven't demonstrated that.
That to me is my point. Why
Yeah.
are you doing this now when you have not demonstrated that you're worth big money?
Right.
Like, you're a good football player, so you're definitely worth money.
Right. Yeah, he's worth a good contract, no question.
But you're not worth a huge contract. You're not going to set the market. You shouldn't be in the top 10 of paid defensive ends. You shouldn't be in the top 15 of paid defensive ends.
Here's the thing too. Balky and I forget that other guy's name we picked up from that has also came from San Francisco. Ethan Waugh, maybe, I think. Anyway, and the salary guy, whoever does the cap stuff. Hopefully they can get creative on this, because in my mind I'm thinking, okay, you want a new contract. Look, we're invested $11 million right now this year, so maybe there's a way we can lower that number on our end. Maybe give him an incentive-laden deal,
He won't take.
And that's the thing. And if he's not if it's all about big contract, big guaranteed money, well, you don't deserve that. You have not shown that type of talent yet. Potential, but how many years are you going to do potential? You can't do that. You're way better than Caleb Chason. Okay, but everybody's better than Caleb Chason. So,
and speaking of, Caleb Chason's about to get cut.
are you saying that because you have some insider information, or you're just saying that that's inevitable?
You know what? Yeah, you know what I got? I got the last 4 years of watching him play 1 or 2 plays per game.
Yeah,
That's what I got. Like, the dude never. I don't know. Some guys are great in college and not very good in the NFL.
was he great in college? I don't even know.
Who
man.
knows? Who knows?
Yeah,
I didn't watch LSU, so I don't know. But
yeah.
he is what he is.
Pick.
He's a
Wasn't he
first round pick. Yeah.
Hey, man. That was Caldwell too, wasn't it?
Yeah. That's another one of Caldwell's guys. Boy, man, that dude he's like Gene Smith. It's like Gene Smith, Caldwell, and Urban Meyer did more to destroy our franchise in the last 20 years than anybody else.
It goes to show you how great it is when you have a decent quarterback and a decent coach, how that can cover up a lot of things because we've gone, we've swung so quick around to actually being a team that's worthy of talking about, which is a testament to the guys in the front office now. So, I mean, I guess that's the way to look at it instead of dwelling on the past. But yeah, my expectation is for Caleb to be cut. We signed we drafted two defensive ends, outside linebacker, however you want to look at it, in the draft. I don't think. Yeah, I mean, I think the ship has sailed for Caleb. It's funny because I was listening, and I think it was one of the news pundits, and they did a little. I guess it was made for YouTube. I'm not really sure. And I was listening to them, and they were talking about Josh Allen being gone, making it better for Caleb to kind of have an opportunity, and they were really serious about it. And I'm thinking, I mean, it's possible, but I don't even know what it's even worth talking about. Opportunity for what? The guy's been here for, there's just certain things where it's like either you got it or you don't, and I don't think he's got it. I mean, I can't think of a play the guy makes. It's like I can't think of anything. I'm sure he's made plays, but they're so few and far between. Yeah, I'd be surprised if he didn't get cut. Honestly,
I would be surprised if he's on the team starting, or he's on the roster day one, opening day
for sure.
And I would be surprised if Josh Allen's on the roster next year.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly. I wouldn't be surprised, but I'm certainly going to be a little bit less surprised now that he's held out. I would be willing to overpay Josh Allen just because I like the idea. I hate the concept of drafting guys and then letting them go to other teams. We just do it too much. And I know you can't be ridiculous and overpay guys, pay them something that they're not worth. The hope would be that there's something in the middle. If Josh is making a stink a little bit now because he wants a long-term contract because he wants to stay here, then maybe come to the table with a reasonable expectation.
Yeah. And I could see that. But to me, it's like if you're holding out, you're making $11 million this year, and you're going to hold out now. It's like,
or maybe,
dude,
why can't you come to the table with some sort of give the team a 5-year contract, but maybe, and I guess you can always hold out again, but I mean, just maybe build something into the contract that says if you, let's say you have a great season, put some incentive stuff in there that your contract accelerates. In other words, it's similar to, let's say you make a trade and you say, "Oh, we'll give you a 5th round draft pick," but let's say he, does some XYZ, it'll turn into a 4th round draft pick. So it's a similar scenario that teams do with each other. It's like the possibility of accelerating that contract up to a higher salary based on incentives, and it isn't just being paid per sack and that sort of thing.
All right, and I understand that, but I would never advocate for a player to do that. You take all your money and guarantees money as much as you can get. You do not put it in the hands of a coach to call your number, because we have heard some coaches, they'll tell their quarterback to throw to the other receiver so that receiver doesn't hit 100 catches or doesn't go over 1,000 yards to get that incentive. I don't think as a player you ever do that. I understand from a team, we want him here, we do like him, but it's like if you want top 10 money, man, go on, go to Green Bay. I
can't imagine a team doing that, only because of the fact that you're going to leave. I mean, the amount of money that teams pay these guys, I just don't. They pay guys on the hope they're going to be good. They'll take somebody who's they think is an accelerated player, or maybe they've had 2 years of almost nothing. They had one great year or decent year, and they go, oh, they're on the rise, and they'll pay them in free agency this multi-year contract on the a hope that they're going to turn into something. You'd nickel and dime somebody to, let's say that the thing is like some sort of a double-digit sack triggered it or whatever. You'd keep him, off the field for some reason in the last game to make, I don't know that you'd do that, honestly. But anyway, we're talking about it too much. It's just he needs to come to the table with something reasonable. I hope he doesn't come to this idea that I got to get mines. It's I got to set the market and this sort of stuff, because you're not that level of player, and he may be able to get to that level, but that he's never been there yet. So you can't do that. You can't ask a team to sign you, and you can't hold out for that. It just doesn't make sense. You're not Lamar Jackson. You're not the Lamar Jackson of defensive ends. You just can't do that.
No, I agree. So anyway, he's the only one that didn't show up. That's actually under contract. We have Evan Ingram. He's the other guy, but he's not under contract technically. He's never signed his tender.
Yeah.
I do believe they're still working on it.
And that doesn't worry me so much, because 1 year deal, that sort of thing, Yeah, I could see myself doing that if I'm Evan Ingram, if I'm being honest. Josh Allen, I'm like, I'd be in camp if I'm Josh Allen. But what are you going to do?
Anyway, man, TL expectations.
So,
Great expectations. Woo.
I think a good jumping off point is, by 3 weeks ago, I want to say that Kyle Brandt had Trevor in tier 5. But
that dude is no more an analyst than my cat.
I like Kyle Brandt. He's obviously...
Yeah, I like him on angry runs. Anything more than dumb meathead stuff, and he doesn't need
He's
to
a
do
personality, unlike some of these guys like Chris Sims, who's a complete milquetoast, like stick in the mud. Like, what is that guy doing on TV? There's some of those guys where you're like, oh, but Kyle Brandt's watchable. He's entertaining. But yeah, I think his love for Josh Allen got into his head a little bit or something. I don't know. I don't know how you come up with that. I don't know why you put Trevor there. It's a weird deal.
I would love to see his analytics on that.
There are none.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There are none.
Kyle says I like him.
Yeah.
That's the analytics.
So yeah, let's talk about, again, I started this show off by basically saying, if you think the Jags are going to be good, it's got to be because you think Trevor's going to continue his rise. So just wanted to just want to show where he landed last year in regards to the NFL. So in passes completed, he's 7th behind Geno Smith and Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes. He was 7th also, passes attempt and passes completed. Passing yards, he was 9th. So he's in the top 10 when you look at his passing numbers last year, that's good. I mean, that's really good. So what is the expectation? What is it going to look like? So one of the things I wanted to do was compare Trevor to Josh Allen. I chose Josh Allen because, Josh Allen's one of the upper tier guys. And Trevor and Josh had a similar schedule. They played a number of like teams or the same teams last year. So I thought it's a nice way to see how the teams, how the Jags and the Bills looked when they played common opponents. And so I wanted to sort of come up with this. And this is just a graphic that's sort of looking at how the team passing performance looked. So when we're talking about Tennessee, so we both played Tennessee. Obviously, we played them twice. The Bills played them once. And so if you look here, you have sort of comparable numbers. The Trevor actually had a game where he threw for 368 yards against the Titans. Josh threw for 317, but in that game, Josh scored 4 touchdowns, and their team scored 41 points, whereas the Jags scored 31. And the other game wasn't as great. Baltimore, Josh Allen was 213 yards and 1 touchdown, whereas Trevor was 321 and 3 touchdowns. So you see there, kind of Trevor's the better, got the edge there. So you see that sort of potential there. So we are doing it. There is some comparability. Now I wouldn't put Trevor in the same tier as Josh by any means, but he has that potential. So in Kansas City, Josh Allen was 329 yards and 3 touchdowns, whereas Trevor was 259 and 2 touchdowns. The Jets, very comparable. Josh Allen was 205 and 147, and the one time Trevor was against them, it was 229. The Jets are a really good defense, so there's that. Detroit, a little similar, although the Bills won that game, and we got destroyed. So that's more garbage time stats, in my opinion, with Trevor having 245 yards. So that doesn't quite tell the tale on that one. And so you see, just sort of doing the comparables, the average comes out to where Trevor's throwing more yards, having a little less touchdowns, and whereas the Bills are actually scoring more points. And that's probably attributed to the quarterback play as well. This is passing too. What needs to also be said is Josh Allen's a prolific runner. So there's that adds into it, that pushes Josh Allen a little further up than you may think. Oh, this is almost,
Apples
Pepsi
to
Coke
apples.
or something like that. And it's
Right.
really not, because Josh Allen has that additional running ability that he'll also throw in there that I don't have in the stats that needs to be said. So what is the expectation? So one of the things I wanted to do, oh, that's the wrong one. One of the things I wanted to do was kind of give an idea about what to expect here. So last year, Trevor had a completion percentage of 66%. He threw for 4,113 yards, 8 interceptions, 25 touchdowns. So if he improves on that, what will it look like? So continuing the Josh Allen situation, and the reason why Josh Allen also makes sense here is because Josh Allen had a meteoric rise, I would say, in his 3rd year. And Trevor's coming into his 3rd year. And similarly, Josh Allen got a new weapon when that happened in Stephon Diggs, and Trevor's getting Calvin Ridley. So could you see that additional weapon, that additional 3rd year of experience come to fruition to propel Trevor in a similar fashion to what Josh Allen ended up doing in his 3rd year? And if that happens, the numbers look like this, as I sort of meted it out. A 78% completion percentage, 5,960 yards. Put 10 interceptions because that's around about, and then 39 touchdowns. Now, I'm not really expecting that, if I'm being honest, especially the yardage there. 5,960 just seems really high.
Yeah, that'd be a hell of a season, man.
Yeah, hell of a season. But it was just the way the math worked out, not real life. So the other thing I wanted to do was, Carson Wentz had a 2nd year under Peterson, and this will be, although this is Trevor's 3rd year in the league, this will be Trevor's 2nd year in Peterson's offense. and there was a noticeable increase in what Carson Wentz did. So I wanted to see if I could translate that over to Trevor's numbers. And then, interestingly enough, Carson didn't have as great of a throwing percentage. His yards would go up from to a few, like 300 yards or so. Interceptions about the same, but you can see there that the touchdowns go up quite a bit. So Carson was throwing a ton of touchdowns.
Yeah, that is interesting given the low completion percentage.
Yeah. And if you look at the stats there's some other things, I think.
Dude, is that Polish math?
It may be some Polish math thrown in there, man.
Okay.
Don't quote me. Do your own math. You can take it with a grain of salt.
I'm just asking.
So the other thing, all right, I wanted to check this. And so what would happen if Trevor improved the same percentage that he improved? So this is Trevor versus Trevor. So he was 2020 Trevor versus 2021. There's a percentage there of increase. If he did the same percentage increase, what would that look like? So that would put him at a 74% completion, 4,650 yards, 9 to 10 interceptions, and 50 touchdowns. So that shows you
season two.
So it shows you how much of an increase. Is that reasonable? The touchdowns in that case seem to be a little bit high to me of what I'm expecting.
This is Common Core math, isn't it?
Could be Common Core math. I'm not.
But that's not so far off. So when I was just poking around and looking at what I thought my expectations would be, so the floor, 4,500 yards, right? Completely doable. And
yeah,
to
definitely.
me, for like a top 7 quarterback, 4,500 yards, that's your floor.
Yeah,
right?
For sure. That makes sense.
33 TDs. Again, that's your floor. Anything above that moves you up some pegs, right? But for the top 7 quarterbacks, 33 TDs, that's your floor. Okay. I also got him 3 to 6 rush TDs. I figured he'd get some jumping over the pile, whether you want to count them or not. Now, for me here, 70% completion percentage. That is the floor. As you do better, the more you go up, right? And then 12 or less interceptions. So I'm not far off on the actual averages. Maybe it's teal math I'm doing.
Well,
I don't know, but
the last number that I did, I sort of thought, well, let me just do an average now. So Josh Allen, Carson Wentz, and then Trevor himself. Let's sort of give an idea of, and I think this might be a little bit more reasonable. I think Josh Allen does sort of skew this a little bit because he had such a good amount of, such an acceleration from year 2 to year 3. But if I compare him, you got 72% completion, which is about, not too far off to where you were talking about. 5,000 yards, and what did you say? 4,500 was the floor for you?
4,500 is the floor.
So that's throwing some, what is that? 60 more yards per game, 40 yards a game, 50 yards a game, something, a little bit more. Interceptions, they may go up some more. When you're throwing like that, I think you probably are going to have a little bit more interceptions. I still kept him at 9 because I don't know how to do that metric, and then I had him and that comes in at 44 touchdowns, which I think is possible. That's in the realm of possibility.
Dude, give me 44 touchdowns and give me 15 to 17 interceptions.
Yeah.
I'm not complaining.
Yeah.
To me, that's still a hell of a year.
And we're just trying to see, I'm just trying to put some statistical targets in front of our eyes to see, again, if he's going to improve, what does that improvement look like? And when you start going through it, it's like there are reasons to assume improvement. For one, he's the prospect that people thought could do well in the NFL, and we saw him do well. So I think once you get over that hump, it's just a matter of going, is he going to be an average quarterback? or can he actually excel in the league? The things that he's done, remember that last year, even with those stats, he didn't start off great. You know, the first part of the year, although I would say the Washington game to start the season was actually pretty good, but his stats were really backloaded. So, and that's what you want to see, you know. He was actually getting better, and there's always ups and downs, ebbs and flows. But for the most part, the back half of the season was a lot better than the front. So, and that's maybe what I should have done in some respect, was split the seasons up. Now that I'm thinking about it, or split the season in half and see if you sort of took the average there and split it between 17 games, what would that come out to be? You know, is that sort of what we'll see this coming season? Is basically what we saw in the last half of the season once he started to get the offense under his belt. Again, he's got Calvin Ridley now. Evan Ingram's back. We'll see what they do with the different rookies that they brought in. Washington, Strange. Everybody thinks Peterson's doing a really good job with the offense. I do as well. And the concept of just that being more familiar with the offense has to lead to just becoming a statistically better quarterback than what you were the previous year before. And it's just a matter of how much better. So that's really what I was wanting to do, was just sort of throw some stats out there, look and see what are the
That's right.
possibilities.
You guys tell us in the comments below, what is an improved season for Trevor Lawrence?
Yeah, give us some stats. What are you looking for?
Yeah, I mean, what makes TL a better quarterback next year? Yards, completion percentage, interceptions to TDs. Put it in the comments. We'll read it. We'll respond. Well, Frank, anything else you want to cover? Now,
No.
I have heard TL looked pretty good out there in underwear. Just saying.
7-on-7.
Yeah, they got to do some 11-on-11 the other day too.
Hey, here's the thing. It doesn't mean anything when you look good. It does mean that you didn't look bad. So that can be bad. Like,
yeah, I've heard around the league some quarterbacks are not looking very good.
Yeah. And if you're a rookie, that could be
What I do like
understandable.
what I'm hearing is that TL is commanding the offense. He's telling guys where they should be and when they should be there. So I do like that, because if he knows, then he can look at the defense, see what the defense is, recognize what route he wants to hit.
Yeah.
And then our guy should hopefully be there.
Yeah, because
so again, playing into a better quarterback, if he continues to take these steps to become a better quarterback, we're going to become a more dangerous team.
Definitely.
So,
yeah,
and that's all good for Duval. Woo!
And I think the thing too is that sometimes you fear that teams, defensive coordinators around the league will sort of figure the quarterback out, So there is a possibility that could happen where, you have this concept and you go, oh, Trevor's much more familiar with the offense. The offense is more familiar with him and what he can do, and it's going to mesh together and be really well. Sometimes defensive coordinators, though, they can see things on tape and they know how to adjust. It seems to me that oftentimes, though, that has to do with maybe quarterbacks' inabilities. So, in other words, if you see he avoids certain things, or, maybe he can't quite get the quick out, he doesn't have the live arm as another quarterback. You can skew your defense to certain ways, this sort of stuff. Physically speaking, I don't think Trevor has any of those problems. Does he have tendencies that the defensive coordinators can see and attempt to exploit? Yeah. That's where being more familiar with the offense, maybe he gets rid of some of the bad tendencies, because he did show some of those. There's definitely room for improvement. Sometimes he read the defense really well. Sometimes he missed wide open guys. That happens. Everybody does that. Tom Brady will do that. Anybody every now and again will do that. So we'll have to see what happens with Trevor. But yeah, it's nice to know that he feels more confident. He's I mean, that Urban, and it's one of the things I said, that Urban year that's a mulligan. I mean, by any stretch of the imagination, it's a mulligan. And that looked to be the case. I mean, Trevor looked like a bust year one. He looked like a franchise quarterback year two, and that's because everything around him changed. And so now, by all rights, it seems to have improved. So he was good last year. He should be better this year.
Boom.
All
All
righty.
right. Well, thank you guys for joining us on another Jaggernaut podcast. Mike, Frank. So, yeah, post your comments down there. Let us know what makes a better season for Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see what you guys think. Until next time.
Duval!
See you
Bye,
guys.
guys.